What's going on, Jeff fans? Week 1 of training camp is in the books. I'm here to give you everything you need to know for the first 4 days of camp. If you appreciate it, smashing that like button is an easy way to show it. So here we go. First things first, injury news. We know that we lost Chuck Clark, safety. He was officially put on IR, as was veteran wide receiver / special teamer Deontay Spencer, and practice squad defensive lineman Bradley and I, all on injury reserve. The PUP list has veteran offensive tackle Dwayne Brown nursing a shoulder, Randall Cobb with an ankle, Brees Hall coming back from the ACL, and then CJ Uzama, who had the leg injury from the voluntary workouts. All these guys can be activated at any time. Uzama and Cobb not supposed to be anything serious. Some other injuries: Will McDonald was seen with a a sleeve on his calf. Salah said he's day to day. Jarrett Bernard Converse, rookie 6th-round defensive back, was in a walking boot, but that came off yesterday. He is week to week. Hopefully, he should be ready to go by the time the preseason hits. Some transactions. Obviously, we had to bring in some players to replace the guys on IR. We did release a undrafted free agent, Isaiah Gathings, who was a wide receiver, tight end hybrid kind of player. He's no longer on the team. We did pick up veteran wide receiver Alex Erickson, 30 years old, has experience as a slot receiver and special teamer. Odenigbo is a defensive lineman from the Colts who had 4 sacks last year. Crockett is a running back who has only taken 2 or 3 carries in his career, so he's kind of a camp body. And Dane Cruikshank is a defensive back from the Titans who has experience playing both safety and nickel. Just some of the 4 biggest headlines for me was just Becton coming in and looking like an absolute brick house. Clearly the best shape I think I've seen him in as a Jet. Still has the brace on the knee, and he's working in slowly with the second team. The Aaron Rodgers Garrett Wilson connection on full display. Immediate chemistry between the two. We have a Hall of Fame quarterback and a homegrown number 1 wide receiver. What a time to be alive. Defensive line dominating. Now that's not a shock because there's no pads on. It's also not a shock because we're going to be dominating most offensive lines around the NFL, not just ours. And we do have Dwayne Brown, obviously, and Mekhi Becton not fully quite at 100%, both of our tackles. Jermaine Johnson, I think, is just, we've all been predicting the breakout, and it's coming. The body is completely transformed. He was already in pretty phenomenal shape to begin with, and he was, as Connor Hughes put it, unblockable the last day of camp for the week. So just some of Rodgers' favorite targets, not necessarily in exact order, but in tiers. From what I could tell, Garrett Wilson and Tyler Conklin were his go-to guys. And then clumped in the middle there, Alan Lazard, Miko Hardman, and Corey Davis. And then a couple of big dudes, right? Nick Bawden, Jeremy Ruckert getting involved as well. Those seem to be the most balls going in the direction of those 7 gentlemen from the right hand of Aaron Rodgers. The offensive line, again, a million grains of salt with all of this, but the first team so far seems to be Billy Turner at left, Max Mitchell at right, McGovern starting at center with AVT and Lakin at the guards, with the second team being rookie Carter Warren and Mekhi Becton at tackle, new free agent Wes Schweitzer, new free agent Cologne as the backup guards, and Joe Tidman taking second team center reps. Looking really good so far. Max Mitchell, a little bit of a rough start for Billy Turner. Kind of a tough ask for him to go out there and block Jermaine Johnson, Carl Lawson, Bryce Huff, all these dudes. But most of the sacks I do see have had his name attached to it. Obviously, Dwayne Brown is on the pup. And then Wes Schweitzer, according to Zach Rosenblatt, it seems to be a 3-way competition at center, but I would be shocked if either Tidman or McGovern don't win that job. Some other offensive notes. Running back 2 is wide open. Michael Carter started strong. Had some drop and fumble issues, and then Bam Knight was getting more reps. But per Robbie Sabo, they're begging for somebody to come in and put the clamps down and separate themselves. Hasn't quite happened yet. Nate Hackett, he's an awesome dude. And you could tell that the energy is different than it was with Michael Floor. I don't want to keep killing a guy who's not here anymore. But the relationships, the vibes, it's a different energy with Nate Hackett on the offense. Drops were an issue early. I do think that'll kind of be a problem for this team a little bit, if I'm being honest, if I look at career drop rates for some of these guys. But I hope it'll be made up for by the red zone efficiency, which Rodgers has always been great at, and the red zone offense is humming early. Also, I don't know if Rodgers or Zach Wilson have thrown an interception yet. So taking care of the football and punching in the red zone should make up for what will most likely be an above average drop rate for the unit overall, not because they're doing it in camp, but because that connects with, career track records. Some names to watch. I think this team's going to have a fullback, man. And whether it's Nick Bawden, I think is what they want to do. If they can't make it work, I think they'll ask probably Jeremy Rucker to do some of that. If I had to guess, I'd say 60-40 Bawden's on the team. Travis Dye, undrafted free agent running back, who's just good at all the little things. And again, with running back 2 being kind of wide open, I would throw his name in the ring there. Jason Brownlee, wide receiver undrafted. I think it would be a shock if anybody besides him gets wide receiver 6. And Zach Kuntz, Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle finding him quite often, probably down to him or Kenny Yeboah for tight end 4. I think it'd be more exciting if Kuntz did it. So we'll see. The defensive line, when the 11-on-11 start in teams, the 4 dudes have been JFM and Jermaine on the ends, with Al Woods over from Seattle and Quinnen on the interior, with the second unit being Lawson and Huff on the ends, and then Clemens and Quentin Jefferson inside. Quick note, McDonald is hurt. From what I could tell, the most sacks are coming from Quinnen Williams, Jermaine Johnson, and Michael Clemens. Some notes on the defense. The corners are still elite. These windows are really tight for Aaron Rodgers, even though he's threading them still. Tony Adams has been getting first team reps. I think he's got a shot to win the starting safety job next to Jordan Whitehead. I wouldn't count out Adrian Amos. You probably want a veteran in there, but Tony Adams, it's athlete versus heady veteran there. Sherwood seems to be his job to lose at linebacker 3. Per Robbie Sable, the Jets were showing more varied coverages with their defense than they were at this point last year. So maybe they're just a little bit ahead of schedule. Third year in the install of the defense. Some names to watch: Derek Langford, undrafted free agent cornerback. I do think a Bryce Hall spot is up for grabs. Do you want to pay a cornerback $3 million? And I've seen his name flash a lot with pass breakups. Ditto that with undrafted free agent out of Florida, Trey Dean. And then Dane Cruikshank, who we signed, he's got experience playing safety. He can play nickelback if you need him to, and he's a special teamer. So I think he could replace either Ashton Davis or Bryce Hall, just as a cheap, versatile defensive back who's got a lot of experience in the league and who can play special teams. Quiet so far. I'm waiting for that tweet that says Izzy Abanikanda rips off a 60-yard run. Haven't seen it. Haven't heard a bunch about Joe Tippmann, which I guess you could say is good. Offensive lineman, sometimes less is more. Bryce Huff, who was sacking the quarterback every other snap, it seemed like last summer, a little bit more quiet. And then Bryce Hall and Ashton Davis, 2 guys who I think jobs are kind of on the line. I've been waiting for information to see one way or the other how they're doing. Haven't really heard too much about them. Special teams, no kicking competition. It's Greg Zerloin and him only. No other kickers in camp. And there are 5 names to look out for as return candidates: Miko Hardman, Izzy Abanikanda, Bam Knight, Alex Erickson, and then undrafted free agent wide receiver Xavier Gibson. All right. Be talking to you guys soon.